Right, I think we're ready to go. Just checking my sound levels. Hello, hello. I'll go up a bit. Right, I think we're ready to go. Right, anyway, these, just put that onto there, move that sideways. Okay, right, now just thought I'd take you with me as I'm beginning a new series. Oops, just moved my chair up. I'm at my drawing desk. I've got 3 spaces in my studio. One is for the for my oil paintings using solvent free. One is for acrylics, and I've also got a drawing table, plus I've got my DJ gear, so it's a little bit cramped, my studio. But hey, I've got an exhibition in October, and the title of the exhibition is Truth, Beauty and Goodness, and I thought, oh, what's my way in here? Because I've done the Wonderland landscape abstracts, and they really, I think they sit within the beauty aspect of it, and I thought, gosh, how do I explore truth? And I went back to my really old training in lettering and graphic design and thought, oh, let's have a go at doing some hand lettering. And the problem with this is that I don't have drawing pens. I don't have the same designer gouache that I had when I was training to do hand lettering. But I thought, oh, well, let's just go free flow and see what we come up with. So, yeah, so the first experiment is in front of you now. I'll just take a sip of my coffee. I'm going to put it well away because I had that really silly thing of putting my paintbrush in my coffee the other day. It's, oh dear, it's quite funny, isn't it, when you do it, but that was the end of the coffee. Using quite a nice mild blend at the moment. I'm not a very heavy, strong coffee drinker. So here's the first one I did, and all I did was sort of almost grid off a relatively cheap watercolour paper, and I've gone right back to the language is so important, the words we use are so important, so I went way back to the Latin around truth, beauty and goodness, because that's where, for those who have English as their native language or their first language, sometimes it's really good to go way back to the evolution of the language and see the sort of core roots of words. Veritas is truth, verify, verification, so you're checking for truth. Anyway, so that's where I've started. So here's the first one, and I'm using a relatively cheap brand of watercolour, mainly because they have some metallics in them, and I was sort of, not that I'll do anything like it, but looking back at those old manuscripts that the monks and that used to do, that would be that. So this is the first one. That was my chair, by the way. Okay, so here's the first one that I did, and you can see here that it's, it's just a play. I think it's important to play with when we're making art sometimes, especially when we're beginning an idea. And so that, the letters aren't placed perfectly apart. It was all hand-drawn apart from it was hand-drawn lines, but everything else was just hand-drawn in from a font. Can't remember the name of it. That's one good thing about technology, is the availability of different fonts and exploring those as shapes and forms in themselves. Okay, so so that was the first one. And again, veritas is the Latin for truth. Okay, and this is the second one. And again, just free flow. You can see that I've rubbed out the T by mistake. I remember doing that when I did lettering, that often you're so engrossed in the lettering that you end up making mistakes with the word itself or within the letters, and that's what I've done there. But luckily, again, it's on budget-friendly paper, budget watercolours and budget paintbrushes, so it hasn't cost me much apart from the time that I put into it. And here's the third one in the series, and I think this one was relatively successful. Again, I'm not after it being perfect. I want to see the human hand in these works. I don't want them to be seen as replicating a photocopy or a photograph, which is fine if that's your aim. But I don't mind if there's a few blobs and bits and slightly wobbly lines, because it puts the human hand, the human behind it. You can see it, and so that's why I'm not too concerned about it. But this one here I think worked out quite well, so that might be framed up and put in the show. I think I just gravitated to those metallics for a change, because I don't often use them, and I'm finding them a little bit gorgeous, really, for a change to be using them. Right, so that's the third one. And now I'm doing another one, and I'm trying to be really, really accurate on this one. And this one is the Latin for beauty. Pulchritudo, I think it is, but I always look that up online if you want to get the correct pronunciation rather than my effort. So this one here, I'm using that complementary idea of gold against purple, because purple and yellow are complementaries on the colour wheel. So it's not true because it's gold rather than yellow. Green and red and blue and orange for our complementaries. And we put them next to each other. They tend to have quite a nice connection. Sometimes they sort of help the other one to shine, that complement next to them. The other way we use complements sometimes is to mix them together to create a brown. So that's quite interesting too. Alright, so I'm just going to do a little bit of the gold for you today. So I'll bring over show you so that's the palette I'm working with, the full pan, which is quite good because I probably will use them quite a bit on different scale works. They don't release that well. You've got to work them a little bit to get the pigment out, but that's okay too. I'll just move them slightly away so the light's a bit better for you to look at. Trying to use natural light today rather than artificial. It's a nice day here for painting this. So anyway, budget brush and flat synthetic for this work at the moment. So I'm just working into the you can see that's just beginning to release now, so it does take a while for the pigment to release from the pan, and it might take another glaze over perhaps when we come to do that. And I'm trying to just use the edge of the brush to find those straight lines, because I'm not really sure how close I'll frame this and whether I want to add another colour around it, which could be that purple, again playing with the two complements. But not using a ruling pen, not using any other of those devices, which I have to say makes it easier, but I mean, I could even be using a gold marker pen for these edges, but I just want to have a go at doing some of this freehand, even if I end up making a bit of a wobble. And I guess you can see when you're doing something like this how creating manuscripts or doing lettering is actually quite a meditative process. It's quite hard even talking while I'm doing it, but that's okay. So there you go, you can see just starting to block in the space around the letters that have been freehand drawn in. It's always good too, again, it's just practicing our eye and hand coordination by doing it freehand. Now, there's nothing wrong with tracing or using a projector or any other device that you want to use to put your image onto whatever surface you're working on, but have a go at the freehand stuff. I think it really helps fine-tune that skill. Now, just trying softly to work in where one area goes into the next without adding too much water, because in some ways I want a flat effect, which is quite hard with watercolour. They're not really made for flat. They're made to blend in, you know, those lovely bleeds that you get with watercolour. So in some ways counter to the media I'm using here. And the next one I'm going to do, I'll definitely see if I can get my old you call it gouache out and have a go with that. Whoops, that's a bit of a blue there. That might again be my moment to go, right, I need to actually paint in around that, but we'll just try using a bit of the old tissue and wet to pull that up where that went over the edge. Yeah, so you know it's very good to do things like this. Just you're not wanting to necessarily say a lot, but you are, I guess, because by doing it in Latin, you're getting people to go, "What? So what's that mean?" and then you get the, I guess if you're English speaking, you get the word beauty, and then you think, so why is beauty being used in this art? Don't always have to do nice things for art, but sometimes we become very driven to give messages or stuff, and sometimes I think it's really important to have some art that is about allowing us to take a moment to see beauty, be amongst beauty. Nature, of course, is the ultimate in beauty. If we take the time to be in it, be amongst it, to see it. Okay, we'll just do up to this corner, and then and I'll finish off the live stream or the recording, and I'll come back again when I've done quite a bit more, so you can see how this work is progressing. See the little moments where I've haven't quite got the lines, but I'm happy with that. Doing those lines, it makes you really slow your breath down and just take a moment. Right, so there we have it. Okay, I'll come back when I've done a bit more and we can see any progress that's been made. Thanks for watching.